Okay. Um. All right. All of you are welcome. Let's do this very fast. I just want to quickly respond to something. Mutipada. They can't steal this voice. Um. Most times, many times, we have seen this cliche, this repetition. They often come up with to say that the change will begin with you. That is, with everybody, with you, with me, with the poor masses. And I always wondered where they got this idea from. I don't know if YouTube people are live with us, but if you are watching from YouTube, kindly just signify by a comment so that I can be sure that YouTube is part of this short broadcast. But I just get a little bit upset each time I see, oh, you start it. Oh, this enchant, they will just chant it. Oh, it begins with you. So much that it started to sponsor advocacies and sensitizations. Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Austin from YouTube. Thank you so much, Covenanted. Thank you so much, all of you. Wale Musa, I see all of you on YouTube. Yeah, thank you so much. So let's do this together. It's a brief one. I want to say that change cannot begin with people you have not given anything to. If you are in charge, thank you so much, Kayode Ojetunde. If you are in charge of resources, you are in charge of institutions, you are in charge of the powers that should enforce and that should make things right, that should build, that should create, and you are not doing them. Hmm? And you expect the people who you are supposed to be responsible to begin the change that you shied away from, then something is wrong somewhere that you can see. For instance, you make law. You are in charge of making law. You make the laws and you break the laws. Then what example do you expect people to copy and replicate? Because Yorubas will say, "Eshin waju ni teyin wo sare." Let me try to give a similitude of that in English language. You are the person driving, you are the one with the steering. I have never seen it anywhere before that the driver holding the steering is telling the passenger that they are responsible for where he heads to. If the person with the wheel has no wheel, no matter how much the passengers shout, he is heading where he is heading new. It's like a cow. I'm not referring to anybody here, but it's like a cow that just wants to go wherever he wants to go to. Now, the passenger is at the back, and you are saying he should lead from behind. Sorry, he should drive from behind. That's the meaning. And I have an issue again. And let me just make quick examples. I don't know how many people remember the time they launched one campaign. They will say, see something, say something. You understand? They say, see something, say something. And then many times, you would see anytime they try, anybody even tries to say something at all, they'll say off the mic. Minister off the mic. And you are encouraging people to be whistleblowers. Excuse me. Yorubas will say, there's a social slang on the streets where they say, oh, should you a last one, when you think you want to be a patriotic citizen, okay, they say we should start, Abi. Okay, we start. That it should begin with us. Okay, we began it. But they left us there. They did not join us. They were making us laughing stock. Somebody will find money on the road or at the airport. He will return it to the authorities to say, I found this money. And I'm sure the owner must be looking for it. Leading from behind. But they left us there. How? They will even be stealing deliberately from these same citizens who are patriotic, leading with patriotism. From the back. You are stealing their own money and you are asking them to show example of how stealing should not happen. So when they find money, they return it to the police, they return it to authorities, they call attention. But you will not even find money, you will even go and steal the money. And you are asking poor people whose destinies you have stolen to start by showing example of how money should not be stolen. Okay, it should begin with us. We began it, but you left us there. So people are frustrated. I also remember when they said, buy Niger to grow the Naira. Okay. About the same time they said, buy Niger, they shut the border against the importation of rice. But they were going outside to patronize medical safari. They were going outside to patronize foreign hospitals for medical services. About the same time, I remember a particular common sense senator who wrote a common sense book encouraging Buy Niger to grow the Naira, printing his own book from abroad. The book you want to sell to Nigerians, you imported the print service from abroad. I can't remember his name, but I have remembered that there are so many occasions like that when they will say people should lead from behind, or that it should begin with poor people. Now, when you have given people nothing and you are expecting so much from them, it's an improper fraction. It's just like putting a very big denominator on top, and you want to divide with a very small numerator. You put the denominator on top, and you put the numerator below, and you want to divide. It's an improper fraction. If you had built, let me even say if it has begun with you, for instance, let's just assume that it actually began with those in power. If you had funded education so well, you will not have many touts, many thugs, many Yahoo boys, many fraudsters on the streets today. So that means if it had begun with you, we will not be like this. If it had begun with you, in another way to say that is, if it had begun with you, you will not need to be spending money to do sensitization for it begins with another you. Because the examples would have been there as a matter of templates that citizens just have to copy and reproduce the examples you have laid. But it is only in Nigeria that you will see somebody who has done nothing asking those whose destiny is told to claim their destiny by turning back from him. No, you ask somebody to face the wall and collect what you have stolen from him, to turn back from you, to turn their back to you, and go and collect what is in your hand. I have not seen it anywhere in the world. It is only in Nigeria. If you are led by example by building proper road infrastructures and not taking our monies abroad, but building good road networks, good hospitals, you will not need to fly abroad and die like a chicken when the airports are closed. So it doesn't begin with the poor people to whom nothing has been given. It begins with those of you to whom the powers have been given and the responsibilities are in your hand. Because if it had begun with you, and you have funded proper education, and it reminds me of somebody who started an anti-corruption agency in Nigeria. I've forgotten his name too. He started ICPC and EFCC. But he was calling the bluff of public institutions he swore oath to protect, and he was building private university. He refused to build and equip public institutions. He was building multi-billion naira private presidential library somewhere in Abeokuta. I've forgotten the Baba's name. He killed agriculture, public agricultural sector, because Nigeria discovered oil and was thriving on oil. But he had a private farm, which we even controversially, or maybe true, learned that it used to be OFN, Operation Feed the Nation, converted to his own name. And yet the same man created EFCC, wanted to be using it to hunt down small criminals under him, the Ogunlewes and co. That anti-corruption network agency is still in Nigeria. Do you understand it? They are still using it to hunt down, small criminals, cyber fraudsters, and the rest of them. I've forgotten the Baba's name, but if it had begun with him, for instance, you will not even need to set up EFCC for anybody. Or was it not in this country that we learned that before the advent of colonialism, anybody will just put their farm produce at the market square, all right? They'll put it at the market square or just by their farm, by the road for anybody who is passing to see. And they will indicate how much it is there. And anytime anybody is passing and sees the yam or cocoa or anything, they will put the money there and take the yam. And nothing would, you won't need to take to pay a sales girl or boy. You won't need to rent a shop, and you won't also need security guard. And now you won't even need EFCC to look for who stole the yam. 4 things just to sell a yam now. But if you are led by example, and the same applies also to your pastors and bishops. Oh, I'm not talking about only politicians. Oh, I just don't want to call names directly, but you know them. Apply what I am saying to whoever you know is asking you to be saved in Christ, but he himself is an ogbologbo. So beware. Beware. So it has always been, if it had begun with them, for instance, that they were not pampering terrorists and clamping down on voices of sanity, we will not have Boko Haram everywhere today. We learned at the time that one Baba used to have killer squad, and under him a lot of advocates went missing. A lot of progressives just got missing or died mysteriously. But the same person will come out today after he left office and be shouting everywhere that Boko Haram is a threat. Oh, this thing here. Some people have some social agenda. But you did not lead by example. And you are asking the people who are depressed to start by lead. Okay, we started it. But you want to continue to use the same people to continue to sponsor your own flamboyant lifestyle while you leave people fasting. It's just like a pastor, asking you to go and fast. But he will now try. If your pastor asks you to fast and he travels abroad, beware. Yeah. I'm just saying because I remember a particular story somebody told me one time, that that they saw a pastor in US. He was eating hamburger. He was eating burger. And at that time, it was a February. I remember, it was a February. We were fasting. He declared fasting here and traveled abroad. You can imagine how wicked the mind of people will be. So if your pastor declares fasting and you don't see him every day, don't fast too. Okay, fast. Let me not discourage you. But it is Sakam and J. They will declare fast here and travel abroad. And they will tell you they are with you in spirit. Don't take it too. It's fraud. My brothers and sisters, that is where we are in Nigeria. They will tell you be patriotic, do what is right, stand for your country, this, that. Okay, they told our Nigerian soldiers in the Nigerian army that they are to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria and they are to defend the citizens of the country against terrorism. Now you send the soldiers to battlefield, leading by example. You budgeted and even borrowed money under guise of buying them equipment to go and confront terrorists. Before they get there, somebody within your government informed them that they are coming and this is how they are going to be operating. Patriotic soldiers that you won't change to begin with, you send them to go and die for something they knew not the genesis you created. Okay, they went out of patriotism now. The money you budgeted for them, you did not release it. Have you not seen videos of or footages of soldiers shouting from battlefield front and saying that they almost died, um, or they have not had food for weeks, that they have been at the battlefront? And if they try to, there's something they later came up with, something called tactical maneuver. If they dare left that war front because you subject them to unbearable condition, hardship, you did not give them weapon. Only you and God knew how their opponents, the terrorists, got ammunition that is way higher than their own. You sat on the billions you borrowed and the ones you budgeted. You did not give it to them. They got to the battlefront. They ran out of weapons. The terrorists killed many of them. The ones that managed to escape, you took them and disciplined them on, you call it mutiny. Treated them in officers' mess. Now, those of them that still managed to use some skill or have something, or Otumokpo and the rest of them, to defend, or Odeshi for Otumokpo, to go and manage to capture these terrorists, they risked their life under patriotism. They then returned with some of these captives, these terrorists, and only in months you sow Ashoebi for these terrorists again, and you release them back to the society, and you budget another round of money. You borrow another, another session of or season of loan, borrowed another lump, call it another budget anti-terrorism. Again, you sat on that, give them little to head back again. Is that not? And you say, and you ask people to lead by example. Excuse me, which example did you start? No, which example have you laid that people should follow? No, we should stop being academic about our problems, and we can no longer continue to deceive ourselves under guise of it go better. I dey inside womb when I don't dey hear it go better. I'm 33 years old. I'm still hearing. In fact, it is worse. It is worse every day. Yet I still dey hear the go better resounding every time, and I'm just confused. Which better again? I been na e go worse. They manage talk where they talk say e go better ne. You get as e be o. Gentlemen and ladies, I'll take comments, but my conclusion about this, it begins with you, is that no change can begin with anybody that nothing has been given to. No, nothing serious, nothing positive can begin with the poor masses, the impoverished soul. The same souls you don't give employment, you don't give job, you don't give electricity, you don't give security, you don't give good roads or infrastructure to work. The same people you deny and deprive. And you are still collecting tax, tithe, value added tax 5% or 7.5% on food they eat, increased cost of fuel, charge on NIPOST fee, and what do you call this other one? They're not to pay tax on rent again. Tenants have to pay each time they are not paying rent. They will pay tax on it again. And these are the same people who still find it difficult to pay 30,000 naira as minimum wage, and you have already set a lot of trap around them to collect it back after working their sweat out. And at the end of the day, stamp duty, God bless you. Thank you, Olushola David, for reminding me about stamp duty. You are finding it difficult to pay 30,000 naira minimum wage, and you have already set trap of all kinds of charges around them to collect it back. And you are still saying patriotism begins with them, that anti-corruption begins with. How will they survive if you have not already encouraged them to be corrupt? Nothing can start with an impoverished person, an impoverished soul. No change can begin with anybody in that kind of condition, in that kind of circumstance. So I end it by saying the only thing that can begin with such category of people is revolution. Because they will get frustrated to a point that they will be mad, and it would be nothing else will be acceptable than a revolution. You can catch the messenger. The message is spreading on its own. It's an idea whose time has come. So you can't catch the message. You can only catch the messenger for as briefly or as long as you want. But the message keeps going on. So you cannot impoverish a people and ask change to start with them. No change, and I repeat, no change can begin with impoverished people. Only revolution can begin with them by the time they have had it up to here. By the time they are so frustrated they can't have it anymore. Only revolution can begin with them. If you want to frustrate them, that something begins with them, only revolution is possible with them. No change is possible with somebody who has nothing to work with. And I take comments from here. SK says, in Nigeria we have so many mosques and churches, and yet wickedness everywhere. Sometimes I wonder the kind of God we are serving. It is government of the rich. In the real sense of it, there is even no God in church and mosque. And let me be frank with you. If you know the secret of all these people, they have a clique. All these pastors and imams, they have a clique. Yes, they have groups, they have cliques, they have those they relate with and do things together. That is why, to me, if somebody comes and say God of Oyedepo, sorry, I said I don't want to mention him today, or God of Adeboye, I am mad. You know why? And I just laugh them. Why do I laugh? Like Fela will say, why are they laugh? Man no fit cry. I can't cry. That's why I'm laughing. God of, because you don't even know what Oyedepo serves. He calls the name of Jesus. Everybody calls it. The other day I was in the redemption camp. I don't know how many people already experienced or witnessed this particular scenario before. Pastor Adeboye said he brought out a staff. And I'm not here to deride or do anything, you know. He brought out a staff and stretched it forward. And said people should begin to pray. It was like, maybe they used it to represent the staff of Moses. He said that staff, a stick, that it was handed to him by his predecessor, that is Pa Akindayomi. I was still a member of the church. In fact, a worker at the time. A devout. He stretched it forward and said we should pray that anytime he stretches the staff and people pray that something miraculous happens. And I wonder, but you people say idol worship is wrong, that you should not serve God and mammon or whatever. I don't know. Whatever reason he did that, when the congregation was there, at least I know a lot of pastors keep those things that they used to pray or used to do whatever. They used to keep it secret and private with them. But whatever he had in communism or in communion with whatever he consults or prays with, that instructed that when there is crowd, he should stretch it. Whatever he was supposed to use that to achieve, I don't know. But at that particular program, he said, I think he had done it about 2 or 3 times. Alright? And then he stretched the staff and said people should start connecting with him and be praying and be stretching their hands and be tapping from a stick. So when you say God of Adeboye, do you know what Adeboye worships in secret? And I'm not trying to say he doesn't worship Jesus, but let us face it. Most of these people who call the name of Jesus, when they are alone, you don't know what they do. So be careful when you say God of so person, because you don't know what that person does in secret. And that's just the plain truth. You don't know. I don't know. So that is why I always avoid that temptation to call God of anybody. Because when that person is alone, I don't know it's God. Well, a word is enough, Sha. All I'm saying here is in response to that person who said praying in the name of that there's God in church. There's no God in any church. What they planted on the altar, you don't know. You just don't know. Somebody was telling me the story of, I won't mention the name yet until I get to the roots of that. I'm going to find that root. That's okay. If I say it, they may want to block it because it will give them a hint. But it's about altar, sha, that the bricklayer who did the job knew what they put in, so they had to work on that bricklayer. They had to take care of him so that he will not be able to see it out. They used him to build the altar overnight. He constructed that work overnight and plastered it overnight. And that was the end. I know I'm not safe too. So, but what I see, the time has come. We have to start exposing all these things so that people can be wise. So when somebody says the God of so, or that you should come and kneel down at the altar, touch the altar and be praying, you don't know what they planted there. Be warned. You don't need church to link between you and God. You don't need it. You don't need anybody to serve as intermediary between you and God. Is a spirit. God is not a religion. And nobody can even cage the supernatural force that God is in a building. It's not possible. It moves with you. God is a voice. God is a spirit. God is many things. It's a phenomenon that is dynamic. It manifests in various ways through you, not through a building, not through the altar, the cement called altar, or the aluminium called pulpit, whatever. That is not God. So when somebody says, until you see so person, you are wasting, share this video with them, enlighten a lot of people. I don't just do broadcast just for the sake of it. It's because I want people to. And if you share it with somebody who doesn't have data, you can say it, now that you know it, you can also tell them. Or if they manage to have data, tell them to take their time and watch this. We have to enlighten people. Only education can liberate people. That's why we keep doing the orientation every time. So there is no God in those churches you are going to. You don't even know what God they planted, if there is any God in there. Anyways. Let me take other comments. Thank you so much, SK. Yeah, even if you die on truth, the fact again is that nobody will even die and have their family the same in heaven. It's just the same way I also laugh. I don't know. I like to explore. That's why many times I like to be alone, because it gives me the room to be able to think broad. And that's also another reason I don't like to submit myself to any religion. And the reason is simple. Religion will narrow the way you think. Because religion always attempts to define God in a particular way for you. And the moment they define God in a particular way, they have limited what God is in abundance. Because religion is shaped in such, is patterned after the region it comes from. Whether the religion you believe in emanated from the Arab world, or the one you subscribe to came from Hebrew, or the one you subscribe to came from the Hindus, but whatever. So religion always attempts to define God in a particular way, in their own way. So I will not be able to limit my own understanding of God to a religion. God is too vast for a religion to, to cut and narrow for you. So I will not, for instance, subscribe to the way a pastor wants me to view God. As a result, I also laugh when I hear people talk about marriage and they say, oh, marriage is one man, one woman, and their children. And I always ask them the question, if your religion says you must marry one person, for instance, and then let's accept it, you marry, you now die, at least something will separate you. It doesn't mean that family is permanent. That's why I always tell people, you don't know who your brother is in the actual sense. Okay, death will separate you and your wife now, she? Death will separate you. After death separates you, if heaven and hell are real, I've not been there, so let's use the assumption. If you want to say, Shegun, don't say that, okay. Have you been there? If you have not been there, let us take it as belief. I'm talking with facts now. Fact is different from belief. Belief means you have not seen it, you don't have evidence, but you accept it as you are told. That is belief. But I am talking about, okay, as of now, it is not yet a fact. But let us now take it as an assumption that we now die and we get to heaven. Okay? We now die, we now get to heaven. Will the virtue that you are married to Bisi or Dolapo determine that you are going to heaven with her or with him? Oh, is it possible that the husband could be in heaven and the wife in hell, or vice versa? If that is possible, it means there is no family in the real sense of it. Because Yoruba will say Igbabo Baba Ogbomola. And let us even demonstrate it with physical example. That the father is a soldier and has bulletproof does not automatically cover the son. So the father is whatever he is for himself. The son has to be for himself too. The same way when you get to heaven, the father might be in heaven, but his own salvation does not atone for the son. It's not possible. We are individuals. So don't let marriage make you feel that you are eternally attached and forever glued to anybody. It's not true. We came individually. It's the same way we will die individually. It's the same way we will be judged individually. It is the same way we will have eternity individually. You can be Adeboye. She can be Folu. Individual has to run their own race. It's not about whether because you are married to me or I'm married to you, automatically we are going to care. It's not automatic. That is the assumption that it exists too, because I've not been there. Favor says, can you return to the original topic of government and citizens, please? Okay, I leave that one because you don't want us to go there. Ayodelia Ajayi says, family as a term does not determine your eternal destiny. Yeah, that's the truth. Ade Osi, say, adulterous nations seek after signs and wonders. That is why everyone is in the church today, and wants quick money. Well, I don't know any serious country that has their citizens to be praying for money. SK says the Bible is very clear that God is love. Love your neighbor the same way you love yourself. Do to others what you want others to do to you. The Bible is very clear in these matters. Absolutely. The Bible is not about, even as much as the Bible is from one religion. And I'll close on this note. I always tell people that even as wacky as Nigerian constitution is, that it's not for the people, if we follow it as wacky as it is, Nigeria will still not be like this. So even if as Bible is, that not everybody accepts, that is why it has several versions. And that is why there are different denominations of churches too. Everybody chooses what they want from it. Even as controversial as the Bible may be, because people always argue with themselves and create denominations out of their arguments. So, but even as controversial as the Bible is, if you follow it, you will still not, this world will still not be like this. But you wonder what Christianity is about. you just wonder. It's just chop. Well, Favor, what it will take for people to do what is right in this country is for, number one, we must definitely educate people. The orientation of the people is very important. And I'm not talking about school education. No, I'm talking about the proper orientation. Because if it were about school education, it will not even be useful here. This country is not built for education to work. That is why many times our doctors, many times our doctors don't function well here. But when they go abroad, they function well. The reason is that the education we are getting, the curriculum designed for us, is meant to work for their system. So they gave us that curriculum with the hope that we will also be able to have we will also be able to replicate their system here. However, the people that are supposed to replicate the system for which the curriculum is designed failed the system. So even if you get the education up to PhD level, you are only wasting your time here, except you travel abroad before it can be useful for the system that designed that curriculum for us. So I'm not talking about the academic education. I'm talking about the proper orientation. And it doesn't have to be in 4 walls of school. It could be by platforms like this. It could even be at home, father talking to children, enlightening them. It could be on by Facebook lifestyle. It could be by simple posts. It could be by tweets. It could be by anything, but let it continue to spread. We have an advantage today, and the advantage is the internet. It used to be that you have to sit for JAMB, go to fight for admission, go to school 4 6 years, depending on how much strike allows you to graduate in time. Before you can say okay. But it is even more curious that a lot of people get the education and come back even more stupid. Have you not seen people arguing for somebody who does not have a YX certificate that is decimating people in the north and everywhere? People are here and they are master's degrees older. They are BSc graduates. Yet, the way they argue sometimes, you just wonder, shey na me and this one go Unilag? We both of us go Unilag. Has it ever occurred to you? Say, we go last protect together now. This one too, we go Unilag together. See the way you think. you know, so it is not, I'm not talking about the education, academic education from school. I'm talking about proper orientation. It has nothing to do with the 4 walls of academic institutions. It has nothing completely to do with them. It only has to do with our brains talking to ourselves and changing our orientations. And I take example as I close. I've said as I close more than 3 times now, but it's because people keep engaging. Do you notice, or have you noticed, that NURTW touts, as we call them, touts are better organized than supposed educated people? Yeah. They are better organized is the word. They are better organized. These people, when they say this is where we are going, they tell them, law, journey, and they don't argue forth and back. Yeah, you can call them morons, but they have a shared orientation. But you will have supposedly educated people coming out to argue in favor of idiocy, and you wonder, maybe they said this person went to school arguing for idiocy. But when you see touts, for instance, when they want to have election, they will agree on one person and they continue. But you see educated people, they will see Moghalu, Professor Kingsley Moghalu, they will say, we can't support that one. Professors so at higher institutions, they will argue against Moghalu, argue against Fela Drotoye, argue against Showore, argue against somebody who has exposure and knows what contemporary governance is. But you will see 89 SAN, senior advocates of Nigeria, defending a fraud called NEPA bill in court. They will say, even if it is NEPA bill. Have you seen it before where educated people would say, even if it is NEPA bill that it brings? You have not seen that before. So the education we are talking about is not the education of school. School makes people more stupid these days in Nigeria because the people who design the curriculum don't even have education. The people who pay the professors are also not educated. So they hold their money, they withhold the payment for lecturers. So lecturers also twisted to be dumb. So I'm not talking about the education of schools. No, not academic education. We need to educate our people one-on-one, without JAMB, without O-level, in fact, without NEPA bill. It is the orientation that we need to continue to spread. IQ. Being a lecturer doesn't mean that they have common sense. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want it to be too long. And then I'll come back later in the evening to talk about our next project. It is month end. And, we said we are going to be doing this project once a month. This empowerment project that we are doing on the street, we call it Push Start. We just identify people who have either learned a skill or a trade, or who have not learned but are willing to. We are now looking to enroll some people in web and graphic design trainings, and also empower them with laptop to kickstart and install PowerPoint and what do you call it, Photoshop, video editing software need for them. We'll get them trainers, and then we'll also upload it. We always upload every time we go on outreaches like that. So let me put my number again on the screen for those who have not had it before but who may like to. But this is a WhatsApp only number. If you call it direct, it will not go for now. So it's a WhatsApp only number. So please, and if you are new to this channel, try to subscribe. We do what we can here. We don't follow the tradition of people who are deceiving everybody. We want to identify people, empower them, including mentally equip them, talk to them about so while we empower them, we talk to them. It's the same approach Jesus used when he was talking to people and he noticed that they were hungry. He knew that the message would not sink, so he had to feed them. So yeah, eat and let's continue. So we are building a database, we are reaching out to people, we are empowering people. If you want to be part of this and you want to support this initiative, that's the WhatsApp number to reach out. You can chat me up or call. If I'm available to talk, I definitely answer calls. So I thank you so much for your time. The only change that is possible from people, and that's my conclusion on this topic, the only change that is possible by people who are oppressed is revolution. No change is possible from the hand of people who you have seized power from, who you have kept depressed and oppressed, the hoi polloi. So it is only when they get frustrated, the only change you should expect from them is revolution. And I leave you as usual with Larry Safari. This one is titled Vagabonds in Power. Bye.